All right, welcome back, everyone. This is Ebony, a.k.a. Fit Mom Diva of Simplicity Health Style, and today we have Miss Leslie with us. How are you, Leslie?
I'm good. How are you, Ebony?
I am awesome. Leslie is a published author, and she has some awesome gems to share with us today. And if you stick around to the end, you may have an opportunity to earn a complimentary gift. So listen to what Miss Leslie wants to share with us today. Leslie, so that we can get to know you a little bit better, can you share one motivational quote that really inspires you, something that keeps you motivated and continuing on your path?
Well, yes, this is actually a quote that I love. It's from a Disney movie. It's from Mulan. Have you ever seen Mulan?
Yes,
so
I love
the quote is, "The flower that blooms in adversity is the most rare and beautiful of all." And that was said by the emperor in Mulan. And so that's the quote I like the best.
Yes, it's so true. I can think of a ton of situations in my life where I had to overcome adversity. And at the end of the day, it was a very beautiful picture, but it took a lot to get there. Can you talk about a time in your own life where you had a dream in mind and you had external circumstances and obstacles that came along the way that you might not even necessarily had been anticipating, but at the end of the day, you were able to bring that goal to fruition?
Definitely. In 2012, it was a huge turning point in my life. I read a little bit about what you went through and your turning point, working a good job. Well, I was also working a good job. I was also working a part-time job and going to the gym 7 days a week. But not only was I not really fit, I also wasn't happy with what I was doing. I was living in a house and I had finished college. And so it seemed like everything should have been flowing well, but it wasn't. Even though I was doing all the working out and all of the work, I still didn't feel fulfilled and I didn't feel good inside of myself. And so my younger sister, she said, "Hey, Leslie, you miss traveling. Why don't you start traveling again, teaching abroad? That'll kind of be like the ticket to get you to travel again." And so I went ahead and took her advice after about a year and started traveling to teach. So I went to Indonesia, and that's when my whole world evolved and changed.
That's awesome. I love to travel and explore new cultures, and teaching overseas is an awesome way to get embraced into the culture. I have found that a lot of times they're more receptive to education too than sometimes they are here in the US, even though we have so many more resources than some of them do. Talk a little bit about that experience. What was that like, teaching children overseas?
Well, thank you for asking. I mean, some people think that they can't do it. And I was one of those people because I never wanted to teach. But it actually just kind of fell into my lap, the teaching aspect of it all. I started teaching graphic design, and then I got my TEFL and started teaching abroad. And some people think that they can't do this. But I had a house and jobs and a life. But I went ahead and just said, forget it, and gave away all of my stuff to the Salvation Army. Everything I couldn't sell, I just gave it away. And then I just put my house up for rent. And before it was even rented, I left the country. And so living there changed my entire life. It changed my perspective. Southeast Asia is so different from the United States in the sense that people they don't really behave the same way. Of course, they don't have the same culture. And it was difficult as a woman of color being in that situation because they weren't really used to seeing African-American people as much as they were other people. So it was kind of a hard time, but it opened my eyes to the small-mindedness that we have here in America in terms of colorism and things like that.
Yeah, I visited Bali one year with my best friend, and everywhere we went, they were snapping pictures with us like we were movie stars. I felt a little famous in certain places. That was interesting.
Yeah, they like to take pictures of the foreigners, and they'll even ask to take a picture, or they won't ask to take a picture. But the biggest thing that I did in Indonesia was I started to meditate and self-reflect and learn more about myself, and also learn that confidence comes from within rather than other people's encouragement from the outside. And
Right.
so, because it was difficult, as a brown person in Indonesia, I was made to feel not as beautiful. And so it let me realize that, what we've got going on here in the US with colorism, and when I went to another country, it was just like, well, everybody looks the same. Everybody brown is the same here.
Right.
There's no light skin brown, there's no dark skin brown. Whatever we've done here, they don't have that there.
Right.
So it was more like, oh, everywhere you go, people are going to see you in a different light, regardless of, what you think or don't think, we have to just establish how we feel on the inside so that we can just be confident whether somebody likes what they're seeing or not seeing.
Right. Yes, I totally agree with that. I've actually had the opposite issue. Sometimes thinking I'm too confident. I clearly remember that back in high school working at a grocery store, and they were like, she thinks she's Miss Confident. And I was like, yeah, I am. I know I'm all that in a bag of chips. I mean, I wasn't like arrogant about it, but I guess it depends on your upbringing too. Like if you've always been told your whole life that you're awesome by your family, that you believe that whether you are or not. So I think it also depends. They talk about that whole nature nurture thing. It depends on your upbringing sometimes, in the environment that you grow up in too, the type of environment you grow up in. I grew up in a very diverse area, and I know that there was racism and colorism. I'm not that naive, but it was diverse enough that everyone for the most part felt respected as a whole. So when you grow up in certain environments, you tend to have a different mentality. But I definitely see the difference when I travel overseas compared to when I compare the different countries, and particularly not even just the US, but countries that there are shades of brown, for example, and people still believing the lighter your skin is, the better. And so there's a lot of colorism within other ethnic groups as well.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about your intention with your social media presence? Because I love the fact that you are a children's author. And what I've seen is that some children's authors try to help break a lot of stigmas. And that's one of them. But can you talk a little bit about why you chose to become a children's author, what your intentions are for the future, and what kinds of feedback have you received so far from it?
Well, I chose to become a children's author because I was teaching third grade, first, second, third grade, and kindergarten. And I realized there was a need in the classroom. I was starting to teach adjectives of character for one unit. And then the students, the ESL classroom, the English as a second language classroom, they just couldn't grasp kindness and helpfulness. It's not that I couldn't write and have them have the definition of what it meant. I really wanted them to understand what kindness, helpfulness, thoughtfulness, I wanted them to understand what all of that was. So I decided to write books that infused positive character adjectives in them so that the students could learn by reading the character traits and reading the definition, and also seeing the pictures of it. And that way I was able to thoroughly show them what it was to be kind, what it was to be helpful. Without just saying the words, I was able to show a picture. And I believe by feeding this type of information to children or youth in general, we actually help our future. We're really helping our future so that we can have a future that's not only better, but there's more integrity. And so my goal with the children's books is to give the children something that I didn't necessarily know about when I was growing up. And so I'm trying to help them in that sense, because maybe if you have more adjectives of character under your belt that you can refer to, you'll grow up wanting to be a better person rather than making so many mistakes. Maybe you'll make a few better decisions if you have the tools in your toolbox to adequately go about, making those decisions. And so my ultimate goal is really to reach out to the kids, make more books, actually make a curriculum to bring to the schools so that I can start teaching teachers how to teach these kind of books, so we can have a positive character teacher in schools rather than just an English teacher, science teacher, math teacher. I think we really need a teacher teaching integrity.
Yes, I totally agree with that. I've seen where my children's elementary school they were learning some of that. My son just transitioned into middle school, and my daughter is now in 4th grade, and they were just learning a little bit of that starting in about the 3rd and 4th grade. But you don't see that at most schools. It just so happened to be something that they were implementing some at their school. And I think that sometimes with families being so disconnected the way they are, you are just learning from your peers or whatever your teachers are teaching you, So I totally agree with that type of curriculum.
Yeah.
What other types of books are you thinking about?
Well, I've got 5 books so far. I've got them right here. Can I go ahead and just show them? This one, It's Just the Way You Are. It's a book about a young girl who's about 10 years old, and she doesn't really know exactly what a woman is. And so her mother tells her what a woman is, and eventually tells her about puberty and that girls grow breasts, they have periods, and when we become teenagers, we need to learn how to have self-acceptance.
Right.
Because we go through a huge change in our lives, and it's so important to find self-acceptance, loving yourself. And so this book I think is really important because when I was growing up, I didn't really know about a period. And so some parents, they have a hard time talking about periods and puberty with their kids. And so I think this helps it a little bit easier to make it a little easier for parents to kind of ease the puberty talk in there. Yeah. And so then I've got All the Beautiful Girls, which of course talks about character, and then the Beautiful Children's Positive Character Coloring Book. And that's where the kids can draw the character traits.
I love this. Yes. And do you feel like this is primarily for the elementary school age, or do you feel like middle school would also benefit?
Well, these books, the puberty book, Just the Way You Are, it's probably for around 5th, 6th grade, something like that. But the other ones are really for age 2 through 8, around there. So it's best in kindergarten through 3rd grade classrooms. And here's the All Boys Guide to Becoming a Gentleman. And when I advertise this book, people say things like, "Oh, there's finally a book for the boys."
Yeah.
Because we're just so focused on girls and being pretty, and just girls, please be pretty today. But what happened to the boys? And so I wrote this book for the boys. Boys Guide to Becoming a Gentleman, but also a lady is the same thing as gentleman, right?
Right.
They're both people who should be responsible, do their homework, have respect, show reverence, and things like that. And then Reach for the Stars is my last book that I've created thus far, and it focuses on children in wheelchairs and with missing limbs.
Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah.
And so the new book is called Keeping Clean, a book about good hygiene. And so that'll be about a young boy who teaches his siblings about the good hygiene tips that he learned in school.
Oh yeah, maybe my son can read that. He's in 6th grade now. He's 11, and he could definitely benefit from reading that book.
Yeah, I mean, some kids they don't learn it, or
they don't care. Even if you tell them 3 times in a row, you think it's time to take a shower now? Yeah, I'll get around to it.
Yeah, and it's so important.
Yes, I often find that boys and girls are just different anyway. There are certain things that I never had to teach my daughter how to do. She just kind of figured it out. Like it was a no-brainer. And with my son, it's kind of like, okay, do we need to wear clothes? Totally different personalities.
Well, they sound cute. How old are your kids?
My son is currently 11 and going on 12 in just a couple months. And then my daughter just turned 9.
Almost a teenager.
Yes, yes. He's at tween age. And, you know, it's now that he's in a school with people that are teenagers, that are 13 years old, you know, so he's no longer the head of the elementary school. Now he's the baby of the middle school. So that brings a whole set of issues there sometimes. But I love things like this, and I think it would be awesome to even expand into the middle school if that's an area that you feel like you would like to break into, because I just noticed the communication between the parents and the children just at his open house. And something like this, some type of character building class, that would be awesome. Even if it was just a segment of one of their courses. My son has a career development type of course, and that's something that I didn't have when I was in 6th grade. So that even that's new. But so even if it was something that was a part of one of those, you know, elective type of classes, I think that would be awesome. So continue what you're doing because it's very much needed.
Well, thank you.
What other collaborations are you looking for anyone that is viewing this or listening to this? What type of people would you like to collaborate with?
I really would like to get more involved with the teaching community with these books, because I'm really trying to penetrate the school system. I think that these books are greatly needed. We really need to talk more about integrity in the world.
Yeah.
And if you have integrity, you'll want to be hardworking. You'll want to not steal. You know. You'll want to just be a good member of society.
Right.
So it's just so important to teach this alongside, you know, science, math, English. I'd also love to get involved in some more supermarkets and magazines so we can get the word out there. And I did a couple of radio interviews. And so I think that that's a pretty good start to start getting the word out. And other than that, really the school community, the teaching community is where I think is the best fit. I really want to start talking to the teachers and doing like workshops with the teachers and have us get some of these books and some integrity work in the classroom.
Yes, and I love the way how you're passionate about this and you're actually taking the action steps in order to fulfill it in all angles, all directions. Can you talk a little bit about those people that don't necessarily have a very strong support system? Because maybe they too want to be an author, or they want to be a dancer or actor or whatever it is, and they haven't quite broken into what it is that they really love. And part of the reason is that they don't feel that they have a strong enough support base. So what are some ideas or resources or words of encouragement that you could give that population?
Well, I would say fall down 8 times, pick yourself back up 9 times, right?
Right.
Let's not be afraid of failure, because we're going to fail. But when we fail, that's another step towards success. Right. So people who maybe don't have a really strong support system, and maybe even their parents are trashing their dreams or something like this, or maybe they don't have good friends to want to help them get to where they need to be, I would say, you know, read some self-help books. Go to the library, pick up a couple self-help books.
Right.
Start doing some journaling. Write down really what you want to do. Are you motivated enough to do it? You are the key to your success.
Right.
You know, we all fail. None of us are perfect.
Right.
It's a long uphill journey to get to where we believe we should be. And we just have to have the passion, the drive, the ambition to keep climbing that uphill battle to get to where we want to be. So for those people who want to be a dancer but are too scared, want to be a singer but are too scared, scared to fail. I say fail.
Right.
Fall flat on your face.
Right.
And pick yourself back up, because that's adversity. You're going to go through a difficult time. You know, you might hit rock bottom, but when you get back up, that's when your true strength shines through and gives you the courage and motivation to keep moving yourself, propelling yourself forward.
Yes. And I don't think that we necessarily talk about the challenges and the struggles enough so that people can realize that overnight success is very rare. So when you see someone, you know, post something on social media, for example, that they just, you know, published their first book, or they were uh, asked if they would perform in such and such movie or play or whatever it is, whatever their highlight is, most times there was a lot of work behind the scenes that they didn't necessarily talk about because it's boring to talk about sometimes, you know? But I think that just understanding that there's always a process and there's work involved with anything that's good. that's just a part of the game. And I think that sometimes people may fail too early or quit too early and fail in that way because they feel like, oh, I should have accomplished this by now. But most of these people that we see, Walt Disney and all these people that we see around us that are successful, they didn't become successful within a few days of their dream or their vision, you know?
Well, you gave me an idea, like Lisa Nichols. I'm sure you know about Lisa Nichols, and I love her story. I mean, she literally came from, you know, struggling with her child, and now just being this wonderful, beautiful, motivational speaker, helping other people be motivated to reach their dreams and aspirations.
Right.
And that's the truth of the matter. I mean, I think that it's important for us to be honest with other people and say, you know what, I've had a hard time too. Right. This is what I did. You know, I too used to make bad choices, and kind of go into detail with some of our stories so other people can feel like they're not alone. And they too can move up through the ranks and really have a better future.
Right. Yes, I totally agree with that. When I'm working with my ladies, we talk about everything under the sun. And because I've experienced so much, and if I haven't, my friends have, there's very little that someone could tell me that I'm going to look at them or say to them, oh, why did you do that? Because I've probably either been there, done that, or like I said, I have a friend that's been there, done that. So I think that, you know, talking about those details, as you said, it allows people to feel like, oh, okay, well, I'm not so bad of a person as I thought I was, you know, so being transparent.
Sometimes we need that encouragement. Yeah. I mean, when I had my start, I mean, I was really, it looked like I had everything together. I went to college, had a house, you know, had a couple jobs, you know, I looked like I was heading on the right track. Yeah. But nobody saw that I was drowning and dying inside, you know, no relationship. My dog was old, you know. The dog was like literally on his last legs, you know, going through his last year of life. It was hard. Yeah. And I was bored. And when we're bored, I think that that's a really big indication of really not being on the right track. Yeah. Definitely. So if you're ever bored, it's because you're not living your life purpose and you're not on the right track.
Yes, I
purpose is that thing that you love to do.
Yeah, I often find that once people discover what it is that they love, that's when they really light up. And I'm like, even if you only can spend about 15 to 20 minutes a day on whatever that passion is, sometimes that's enough. By the end of the week, you've just accumulated about an hour's worth of time that you just devoted to yourself and your purpose. And the more that you can infuse that into your life, the better you feel, and people will see it. The better your relationships are a lot of times because the fact that you just feel better, you know? Yes. So that right there in and of itself, I teach a career development class. I have an online course that I developed. And one of the reasons why I developed that course is specifically because I can see on people's face, as soon as we identify what themes light them up, via just a simple assessment tool that I have. Just seeing their face light up, they haven't done anything yet, but just seeing their face light up when they finally got that aha moment, like, oh yeah, this is exactly me. That's telling. They haven't even begun to pursue their dream, but you see it all over their face, like, yeah, this is my thing. You know, so I think that the more that we can use our talents and gifts and operate in what we're supposed to be doing on this earth, the better our life is and the more fulfilling it is to us.
Yes. I teach adults, and I've just got so many people that come to me and say, oh, I want to do what you're doing. I've always wanted to do that, or I've always wanted to do online blogging about this. And I say, okay, well, why don't you just go ahead and do it? And they say, well, because it's been done before. Maybe there's nothing new under the sun. Maybe it's been done before, but it hasn't been done with your twist, you know, with your style and flair and what you really are trying to get across. So, you know, instead of just saying, oh, it's been done before and not doing anything, just like what you said, take 10, 15 minutes a day and do something with it. That 10, 15 minutes, they add up.
Right.
They really do.
Yeah. And we all have a different story too. So the more that you can infuse elements of your story, nobody else shares that same story. So even though it's the technique has been done before, it hasn't necessarily been done the way that you're going to put it out there into the world, you know?
Yes.
So, yeah, I think people embracing their uniqueness, and it goes back to what you were talking about earlier, just understanding who we are as an individual and loving ourselves, and then wanting to allow that out into the world so that other people recognize who we are and value who we are. I think too often we're in a classroom setting and we're learning science and math and reading and social studies and all of that, and we don't take enough time to character build, as we were talking about, and really learn how to have principles such as respect and integrity and kindness. And a big part of that is the fact that everything these days seems to be geared towards testing. But who cares if you're intelligent, but you have no social skills to go along with it, or you don't have the emotional intelligence to go along with it, you know?
I agree, yeah.
I love what you're doing. I think that it's very much needed, all the way up through the high school level.
Yeah, I love teaching high school. I love teaching the teenagers. I mean, yeah, we like to think of them as just moody and this and that, but actually they just have so many wonderful things to say.
Yeah.
And I think it would just be so great if they all just had a mentor.
Yeah.
You know, just one person, like a one-on-one type thing going on where they could just be mentored. I mean, because teenagers, I think, are just so great. You know, moodiness aside, I just think they're really amazing. And everyone has something to offer. And I really want those people who are on the fence, maybe watching this video and on the fence about doing what they love, because I know so many people who aren't doing what they love. You have to remember that when you don't do your passion, you are actually hurting another person, because they don't see what you're doing. Therefore, you're not really giving anybody else a light. You know, you're not shining a light for them so they can see a pathway to something better. So we're doing a disservice to others when we don't follow our dream.
Yes, I always tell people that we all have a unique gift to offer, and it's just a matter of you discovering it and being bold and confident enough to put it out there. And most people will respect you for it. Most people are not looking at your shyness or your fear. If anything, they're thinking to themselves, wow, I wish I could be bold enough to do that. They're not thinking about your nervousness. So it's better just to put it out there. Most people are not paying that much attention to your fears and insecurities.
Because it's probably just motivating them to kind of go over that hurdle that they need to get over so they can do what they need to do.
Right. Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Leslie. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend. And I know that this is going to be of value to people all around the world, not just in our local community, but all around the world. And for any of you that are listening and you want to share your story so that you can empower other women as well, reach out to me. All of my contact info is in the description box, as well as Leslie's. And I'm sure she's looking for people to collaborate with in some way as well. And if you'd like to join my Nutrition for Busy Women Facebook group, it is not just a group that's talking about nutrition from a food consumption standpoint. We're talking about nutrition for the mind, body, and soul. And everybody in that group is purpose driven. They might not have arrived, but none of us have. We're all on our journeys and we're all looking for positive encouragement from other women. So if you don't have a place online and you'd like to connect with me, that's the way to do so. I'm in that group and active every single day. So if you can't find anybody else in your world to help support you, I will. It's my passion to help support people in their life's purpose. Leslie, do you have any last words of encouragement or anything that you want to share with us before we round
up? Thank you. I just want to remind people to be the flower that blooms in adversity. And also, you can find out more about me and my mission on www.positivecharactereducation.com. And also, you can find me on Facebook at Positive Character Corner and on Instagram at Positive Character Corner.
Awesome. Thank you. And all of that, again, will be in the description box. And I certainly hope that people will take time out of their day and take a look at your website. Take a look at her Instagram. It's very simple to follow. And I think that sharing this content, even with others that have children, if you don't have any of your own, is key, because the more exposure that our children in this world in general can get to positive character development, the better it's going to be for all of us. So share this with your family and friends, even if it can't directly benefit you. You guys have an awesome rest of the day wherever you are in the world. And always remember to live a life full of meaning and purpose. And I will talk to you soon.